So to go back to the other examples as to how I could tell how many rows to put in my chart, if I had 40 was the first number, well, it's 2 cubed times side to the first when I was done with the prime factorization. Well, that means I'm going to take 3, add 1 to it, because I could have 0, 1, 2, or 3 copies of 2, which gives me 4. And then I have 2 is the number of 5s. It's 1 plus 1 is 2. And so 4 times 2 gives me 8 as the total number of factors. I take that 3, add 1 because I could have 0 copies. I take that 1, I add 1 because I could have 0 of them, 0 or 1. And so I get 4 times 2 is 8 possibilities. Same thing here, 56 is 2 cubed times 7 to the first. So again, I'm just going to get 4 times 2 is 8 total factors. And then again, so 2 squared times 5 squared is what 100 was. So 2 plus 1, because I could have 0, 1, or 2 2s, and 2 plus 1, because I could have 0, 1, or 2 5s, gives me 3 times 3 gives me 9 factors. I'm going to do one more example of finding all the factors. We'll do the number 60, which is 6 times 10. 6 is 2 times 3. 10 is 2 times 5. And so I'm going to get 60 is 2 squared, because I have 2 2's, times 3 to the first, times 5. So 5 to the 1. So how many factors should I have? Total number of factors should be 2 plus 1, because I have 2 2's, times 1 plus 1, because I have 1 3, times now, 1 plus 1, and then 1 5, so I get 1 plus 1 again. So this is going to be 3 times 2 times 2 is I'm going to have 12 factors, so I'm going to need 12 rows in my chart. So here's my chart. I had to make a little bit of room, and I had figured out that we had to be 12 rows, because I take 3 times 2 times 2 gives me 6 times 2, which is 12 rows. And now again, I start with all zeros just like I did before. Now this time what's interesting is I'm going to have 3 zeros, and same deal, I'm going to go through all the possibilities on 2's, and I'm going to keep everything else the same. And so what's different here is that I'm keeping everything else the same, and now when I have to reset the number of 2's, I go through all the possibilities in 2's. It could be 0, 1, or 2. I'm going to increase the number of 3's, but I'm leaving the number of 5's alone. I'm only increasing the next column over until I run through all the possibilities on the 3's. So if I go through 0, 1, and 2 on the 2's, I'm going to do 0 and 1 on the 3's. The 5's are going to stay the same as 0's. Well, now I want to reset the number of 2's back down to 0, because I've run out of possibilities on the 2's, but I've also run out of possibilities on the 3's. I could have 0 3's, or I could have 1, and that's it. And so now I have to reset the number of 3's, and now I add 1 to the column 1 over. Again, just sort of like an odometer on your car that counts the number of miles. Well, the old-fashioned ones with the wheels. Once this column runs out, the next one scrolls forward. And so here I go through all the possibilities, 0, 1, and 2. Keep the number of 3's the same, number of 3's the same, keep the number of 5's the same, and then reset the number of 2's, so I increase the number of 3's and leave the 5's the same, because I didn't change the number of 3's. And so I run through all the possibilities on the 2's, leave the 3's the same, leave the 5's the same, and now here I'm up to the powers that were in my original number. And now I just convert all these guys to factors. So here I just transferred all the 3 numbers to exponents on the different factors, and then I just have to multiply this out. 2 to the 0 times 3 to the 0 times 5 to the 0 is 1, and on down the line. So when I'm done with that, I get 1, 2, 4, then 3 times 1 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 4 is 12, 1 times 1 times 5 gives me the 5, 2 times 5 is 10, and so on. 3 times 5 is 15, 2 times 3 times 5 gives me 30, and finally 2 squared times 3 times 5 gives me the 60, which was the number I started with. So we start with 1 and end with the number I started with.